So about a week ago, I had this funny little surgery called an appendectomy done, where they removed my appendix. Now, I've told this story a couple times now, and in all reality, it's not that bad. But also, it kinda is. The day before my surgery, I was just kind of relaxing at home, chilling, and I started to feel this kind of weird, dull pain across my entire stomach. It was just kind of there. I thought, oh, gotta fart, gotta poop. And the entire time up until the next day, I genuinely thought, man, I'm just crazy constipated. Throughout that day before my surgery, I kind of just brushed off the pain. At first, it wasn't too bad, but it did get progressively worse as the day went on, as I'm sure you could assume. And by the time it was nighttime, I could not sleep. I was just tossing and turning, and I decided to get up from the bedroom and go to the living room and try to work on getting what I thought was poop or like gas unstuck in my stomach. I was doing ab crunches, I was doing squats, I was doing everything, bicycle kicks, to try to get any kind of relief. And around 1 a.m., I thought that that's it, dude. I'm going to CVS and getting some milk of magnesia to end this suffering. So that's what I did. I went to the store, I bought the milk of magnesia, I came back, and I drank some water along with the laxative. The pain had gotten to the point where it was starting to get pretty sharp and a lot more just spread out around my stomach, and it was just awful to feel. And I somehow managed to fall asleep. Not for long, it was only for a couple of hours. But when I woke up, the pain wasn't there anymore. Except it was. It was just in the lower right quadrant of my stomach. Now I'm no fool. I knew something was wrong. Obviously, I had hoped for the most part that it was just constipation and like gas and just something easy that a quick trip to the bathroom would fix. But I am a notoriously huge overthinker and decided to see what other possibilities it could have been. One of which was appendicitis. And I was reading online the symptoms for appendicitis, and it had mentioned that eventually the pain would stop from being like, across the stomach and locate itself to the lower right quadrant where the appendix is. And since I hadn't felt that up until that point, I thought I was in the clear. The minute I woke up and felt only the pain in my lower right quadrant, I felt this huge amount of dread just wash over me. I was like, oh my God, there's no way I have appendicitis. So it's like 5 in the morning now. I get up and I go to my bedroom where my girlfriend's sleeping, and I hit a I threw up pose and told her that I think I have appendicitis. Now, normally I would never suggest anyone ever to self-diagnose, but I never, ever follow my own advice and constantly do this to myself. But luckily, your boy's goated, and I was right. Now, at the time, I didn't have health insurance, so this was a big deal. This was like, damn, this is going to cost me a lot of money. And so I talked it over with my girlfriend, and in the end, we decided that it'd be best that I just kind of wait until urgent care opened up, go to urgent care instead of the ER, and first find out whether it is appendicitis before jumping the gun, and then I have a much bigger medical bill that I need. So 8 a.m. rolls around, I get dressed, and I go to the urgent care, and I'm there for like maybe 15 minutes, maybe. They get me into the room, I meet the doctor, and he lays me down and he does some kind of tests, just kind of poking and prodding around my abdomen, all while asking me questions. And then he sits me up, looks me dead in my face, and says, you need to go to the ER right now. And I was like, oh, fuck me. This is exactly what I need right now. And so I look at the doctor and I let him know, like, hey, I don't have any health insurance right now. How much is this visit going to cost me? And he was really chill, like actually so fucking cool. And let me know that he wouldn't be billing me for this visit and that I wouldn't have to pay anything. Now, lucky for me, the ER was literally down the road from the urgent care, and I wasn't exactly immobilized. I could still function to a degree. It hurt, but I could do it. And I drove myself to the ER with this paper that the doctor had given me. And I signed in, gave them the paper, and I could not express how many people I told that I don't have health insurance. My biggest hope was that someone would help me in starting some kind of process for financial aid. They take me to a room and immediately give me a gown. And at this point in time, I didn't have to get booty butt naked. I just had to take my shirt off. So it was pretty comfortable, kind of cold, but they gave me like heated blankets, which was pretty cool. So I'm just sitting there watching SpongeBob on the hospital TV, and they get my blood work, get a urine sample, and they tell me that they're going to be doing a CT scan to check my appendix. Now I'm thinking, a CT scan? Fuck, how much is that going to cost? And luckily this hospital's website had an estimate calculator for different procedures and how much they would, cost. I go on the website and I go to this calculator and I find the CT scan that they're going to do. And it was $8,000. Roughly. It could have been more, could have been less. I'm a pretty big dude, so maybe it would have been more because there's fucking more of me to scan. I don't know. When I saw that price, my heart just sank. I'm thinking, holy shit, that's just the scan. If I have to get this surgery, there's going to be so much more things I'm going to have to pay for. But there was literally nothing I can do. If this was appendicitis, my appendix was trying to blow on me, and I had to get this thing out. Eventually, they come and get me, and they take me to do the CT scan, which was pretty relaxing, actually. They just had me lay on this table, go through this like little donut looking thing, and I just laid there, closed my eyes for like 10 minutes. I almost fell asleep. And after that, they took me back to my room. They told me the results could take between 30 to 45 minutes, and I just had to wait. And so I did, just in my room nervously watching SpongeBob. And as I'm waiting, I get an email from the hospital. And this was my go-to hospital. This is where I've gone before, and this is where I continue to go. And so I had, all these notifications set up. And when I check the email, it says that I have scheduled an appendectomy. Now, one can assume that an appendectomy is a surgery for the appendix, but I just wanted to make sure, and I Googled it. And when I did, and I saw that it was indeed a surgery for an appendix removal, I fucking start bawling. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be going into generational debt. Not really, but still, like thousands and thousands of dollars in debt. A little bit after, the nurse comes in, and she asked me if the doctor's come to talk to me yet, and I was like, nope, but I got a notification that I'm going to have an appendectomy. And she was like, yeah, we got to get that thing out. So I asked her, how big is my appendix? And she told me 10 millimeters. And I was like, okay, well, how big is it supposed to be? She says 6. My appendix nearly doubled in size. That motherfucker was trying to get me, bro. Now, around this time, my girlfriend was able to get off work early and came to see me. And shortly after she got there, surgery showed up to take me to pre-op. And when surgery came in, they had a gurney and a new gown. And the first thing this nurse says is, okay, time to strip. And I was like, what? I thought I was fine with just my shirt off. And she was like, yeah, that's for here. If you're going to surgery, you need to be stripped. So in a room with my girlfriend and 2 nurses, I stripped down and put on this new gown. Now, obviously, no one was looking. They turned around to face the wall, but, still. So I get this gown on, I lay down on this gurney, and they wheeled me over to pre-op, where they explain a lot of the procedure and things that are going to happen. And I have to sign paperwork and basically saying, like, hey, I'm letting you guys cut into me and do this shit to me while I'm unconscious. And the first doctor to come in to talk to me was the anesthesiologist. And he's explaining how the anesthesia process is going to go, and he mentions that they're going to be inserting a breathing tube. And I said, what the fuck, a breathing tube? And he was like, yeah, the anesthesia we're going to be administering to you is heavy stuff, so you're going to need assistance to breathe while you're under. This only adds to the already kind of terror that I'm having of going into surgery. They told me not to worry about it, that they would be inserting the tube after I went under and removing it before I woke up, but he did say my throat would be sore. He has me sign some paperwork, and shortly after, the surgeon comes in. Now, I don't know if they give doctors fucking PR training or anything like that, or just, some kind of process to help them better talk to their clients, to make them feel more comfortable. This guy fucking needs that shit. He comes in and he's like, hey, are you blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, okay, I'm Dr. blah, blah, blah. We're going to be performing what's called an appendectomy. We're going to be doing it laparoscopic. Do you know what that means? And I was like, no. And he's like, okay, what it means is that we're going to be doing hopefully 3 incisions, here, here, and here. And he shows me on his abdomen. And he looks me dead in the face and he says, if I need to make more, I will. Fuck, okay. And then immediately after that, he says, if the laparoscopic method fails, we're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. And when he says the old-fashioned way, he grabs his fucking hand and drags it across his stomach. The fuck you mean the old-fashioned? You're going to cut me in half? That shit freaked me out. And I was about to go into surgery. We were literally getting prepped. Like, I was getting ready to go into surgery. He explains a couple more things, and then he says, do you understand everything that we spoke about? And I say, yeah. And he's like, cool, great. We're going to get started. And I forgot to mention at this point my mom and sister had shown up, and I had a bit of time to tell them I loved them and that I'd see them soon, hopefully. There was a lot of concern of my appendix rupturing mid-surgery, but I will say that the surgeon seemed confident and didn't really seem worried about performing the surgery, although I feel like that's a given for any surgeon or doctor. So I said my goodbyes, and they wheeled me to the operating room. Eventually, they grabbed that little breathy mask with all that good shit and put it over my face and tell me to just take long, deep breaths. And I remember the last thing I said was, "Take care of me now," and it was just fucking black. Now, I remember waking up after what felt like fucking time traveling, and I saw a clock on the wall, said like 6 p.m. or some shit like that, and I felt super groggy and distorted as hell. So I see the clock, and I kind of just process, but very slowly. And I look to my right, and there's a nurse lady there just looking at my vitals, and she turns to me and she's like, "Oh, hey, how are you feeling?" And I think I said, like, "I'm okay," or something. It's pretty hard to remember, but after I said that, she said, "I'm just administering some more morphine and fentanyl for you to help with the pain." Right after that, I remembered, oh yeah, I just had surgery, and thought, let me see the damage. So I grabbed the blankets and I pushed them down to my knees. They had like blankets on me, and I pushed them down to my knees. And I grabbed my gown and I just start pulling it up to, see my stomach. Well, I don't have any fucking clothes on. So I pull my gown up and it's just straight hog fucking for like 3 to 5 seconds, cuz my reaction time has been debuffed by fucking fentanyl. And I cover myself really quickly, and I'm like, holy shit, I just fucking flashed this nurse. Granted, I'm sure she's seen much in her experience as a nurse, so really there's nothing for me to be ashamed about, but still, like, just fucking whipped out my weenie. Anyways, after a bit, they take me to the room I'd be staying at, and they let me know that I'd be staying overnight, and proceeded to have, like, the worst next 24 hours. It wasn't too bad. I had, like, 5 cups of Jello that night because they didn't want me eating solid foods yet. They wanted to keep me on fluids or, like, clear shit. Later on the next day, some lady came in who I think was working on getting me some kind of emergency insurance, and she let me know that I was actually approved for an emergency Medicaid that thankfully allowed me to not pay a single dime. It covered everything, and I have never felt such relief in my life. Overall, I'd give the appendix experience a 6.8 out of 10. Thank you so much for listening and or watching. I hope you enjoyed the story, and I hope to see you again next time. Peace.